Hello, folks. Good afternoon. 25 minutes after 3 p.m., we here at Criminal Court C, Temple of Justice. Yesterday, we were present for the continuation of testimony being provided by the suspended head of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, Colonel Abraham Kromah. But today, we're here for a totally unrelated issue. And this has got to do with the former finance minister, Samuel Tweah. You just saw him in your shots as he entered the court wearing a blue business suit, accompanied by his personal aide, Aloysius Ho, as they enter the court. Right now, what is going to be happening is the state has filed a challenge against the bond, the property valuation bond that was filed by the former finance minister on Wednesday, the 25th of September 2024, after he re-entered the country months being away since an indictment was drawn against not just him, but other co-defendants, namely Stanley Ford of the Financial Intelligence Agency, that's the FIA, and other co-defendants in this particular case. So far, other co-indictees, because the case has not yet moved to trial. They are still on bond, but that bond is what is being challenged today by the state. So earlier we did see the former Solicitor General Yanati Tweah make his way to the court, as well as we did see the former finance minister Samuel Tweah just entering the court, and this is all about challenging the bond that was filed by the former finance minister and the other co-defendants. So what we've been made to understand is that it is not just former Minister Tweah's bond that is being challenged, but also the $6 million bond that was filed by the other co-defendants after they were arrested, taken to the Monrovia Central Prison. They through their lawyers, filed a bond as well as enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, and their bond was granted. That bond, the $6 million bond, is also being challenged, as well as that of the former finance minister Samuel Tweah's $8 million bond. So we will be bringing you all of what is happening here at the Temple of Justice, precisely Criminal Court C. All of the unfoldings, what will be happening in the court, will be bringing you play-by-play, live, unfoldings, question and answers, arguments from the defense and the prosecution in this particular case. So the 5 indicted include the former finance minister Samuel Tweah, Councillor Yanati Tweah, former Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, one-time acting Minister of Justice, Stanley Ford, the former Director General of the Financial Intelligence Unit, D. Moses P. Cooper, former Financial Intelligence Agency Controller, and Jefferson Camo, former National Security Advisor to President George Manneh Weah. So it is going to be, about the state proving that the bonds filed in both instances, in the first instance on behalf of Jefferson Camo, Stanley Ford, Yanati Tweah, and Moses P. Cooper, and the bond filed by former finance minister Samuel Tweah on the 25th of September, when he appeared at this very court hours after he arrived in the country to file an $8 million property valuation bond. So we're live in front of Criminal Court C. We cannot take the cameras inside the court, as that is against the regulations unless otherwise ordered by the judge. And when the prosecution and defense do agree for a televised trial or hearing, then we will be allowed to take our cameras in the courtroom. But all we can do is to just present to you from the outside of the court and tell you exactly what is happening. So yes, so far we've seen Councillor Yanati Tweah. He's in the court. We did see former Finance Minister Samuel Tweah. He's in the court. Councillor Yanti Tweah arrived earlier than the former finance minister. He's in the court as well. Now the court is in session. We can hear the gavel as it's being hit from within the courtroom. So what is happening here is the state has said they have found discrepancies in the bond filed by the former finance minister, that the property valuation bond, the $8 million property valuation bond, is not as what it was. And that bond was probated by the court, perused by the judge, and approved. The state at the time, through the Montserrado County solicitor, attorney, I should say, the Montserrado County attorney, raised no objections to the bond when it was filed on that very Wednesday afternoon here at this court. Now, Minister Tweah, the former finance minister, was granted his bond, but with some conditions. He's ordered not to leave the bailiwicks of the Republic of Liberia. He's not to leave the country. In our layman term, he's not to leave the country. And now the state is arguing that the bond that he did file is a defective bond. That the property, a lot of counts, I'll be going through the counts stated by the court, but Tweah's defense counsel have said they're willing any day to defend their bond, that their bond is not defective. And the whole issue is, what will be the judgment of the court once both sides have argued their case as well? Will the judge, decline the bond? Will the judge rescind the bond and evoke the bond? And then will the former finance minister and the other co-indictees be arrested and taken to the Monrovia Central Prison? Those are questions that Liberians want to know what the answers will be. We can only do our analysis outside here, give you all of the questions and information pertaining to the arguments coming from within the court, and the judge will make the final decision. The presiding judge is Judge Blamo C. Dixon of Criminal Court C. So all of what will be happening will bring you, the proceedings from within the court, but without being in the court with the cameras as well. So my name is Diamond Slanger. I'm here with Jurassic Joe, playing producer. We have our sources within the court, and we'll be bringing you real-time happenings from within Criminal Court C. But the case has been called according to our sources within the court, and we did hear the gavel being banged by Judge Blamo C. Dixon. So wherever it is you're watching us from, kindly do share this live podcast. We're coming to you live from outside of Criminal Court C on the grounds of the Temple of Justice. So on Wednesday, the 25th of September, 2024, the former finance minister, the indicted former finance minister, Samuel Tweah, walked these very stairs, made his way to the court, and through his lawyers presented a property valuation bond of $8 million. That bond, once presented to the court, the judge perused. It was probated, accepted by the court, and stood as his assurance. He was later, whisked out of the court, or should I say, he walked majestically out of the court to the chairs of his supporters, put on board a silver Mercedes-Benz SUV, and was driven away, much to the displeasure and disapproval of those who felt that the former finance minister should have been arrested, handcuffed, taken to the Monrovia Central Prison before any other procedures or legal procedures should have started. Well, on that day, they were dealt a very big blow because he walked away. On today, again, what will be the argument coming from the state? So we'll go through some of the points as raised against the bond filed by the former finance minister. So the case here is the LDEA and the government of Liberia versus former finance minister and others. So the case called in court, the title of the case is the LDEA by and the government of Liberia versus former finance minister Samuel Tweah and others. So that is the bond challenge case being heard right now. So it is the LDEA by and the government of Liberia versus former finance minister and others, and the charges are theft of property, criminal conspiracy, criminal facilitation, money laundering, and economic fraud. So the charges are theft of property, criminal conspiracy, criminal facilitation, money laundering, and economic fraud. So those are the charges, and we are seeing others still making their way in court. But former Minister Tweah is present in court. The former Solicitor General Yanti Tweah is present in court. Those are the two that we've been able to see as of when we did arrive. So arguments ongoing in the court, but the LACC, through its investigation, said that the 8 million United States dollars bond that was relied on by Judge Blamosi Dixon that prevented former Minister Tweah's imprisonment was wrong and marred with discrepancies related specifically to the ownership and evaluation of the properties that were listed in that bond. So the LACC said they did an investigation, and the $8 million United States property valuation bond that was filed for on behalf of the former finance minister, not to have him committed at the Monrovia Central Prison, but to be out and about and await his trial date. The LACC said the bond, the $8 million United States property evaluation bond, was marred with discrepancies, that the bond was wrong, and the ownership related to the ownership and the evaluation of the properties listed in the bond. So one of the property was flagged as an outstanding tax lien. That one of the properties were flagged as an outstanding tax lien. So Minister Tweah's legal team have said they will respond to the government's argument. They said the property is valid, the bond is sufficient, and hence they're in court today to defend the bond filed to this very court in front of the judge Blamosi Dixon. Remember, the judge perused the bond. The bond was probated. The state, through the Montserrado County attorney at the time, raised no objection, and the bond was accepted. Minister Tweah, the former finance minister, walked out of the court not in handcuffs whatsoever, a free man until his trial can be conducted, and if he's found guilty, he will be convicted. But until then, under our jurisprudence, you are innocent until proven guilty, and you are entitled to bond except for in the case of murder, or when you cannot produce your bail bond in the tune as required by the court, then you'll be committed until your trial ends. But he was able to have found the $8 million property valuation bond, and now that bond is being challenged. It's not just his bond, but the bond of the other 4 core defendants as well. Let's go back to the court and see if we've gotten any sort of new updates. So while we're waiting updates from the court, let's now go over how did we get here. So the former finance minister, Samuel Tweah, along with 4 other co-defendants, were indicted by the grand jury of Montserrado County on several charges. And those charges include economic sabotage or economic fraud, theft of property, criminal conspiracy, criminal facilitation, money laundering as well. So there was much, public debate depending on which side of the aisle people find themselves. There were those who termed it famously as a witch hunt against former officials of the Tweah regime. There were those who said it was the dawning of accountability, transparency, and prosecution, and the end to the culture of impunity in our country. But whichever side of the aisle again you find yourself, everybody waiting to see how this trial, when it commences on the 12th of November, is going to go. But for those who were in the country at the time that were arrested, they include the former Solicitor General and then acting Justice Minister at one time, Councillor Yanati Twine, the former National Security Advisor to President George Manawia, Jefferson Camo, and Moses D. Cooper. as well. Minister Tweah, the former finance minister back then, was out of the country, again bringing about the debate whether he being out of the country as of when the indictment was thrown and not coming back to the country was also an admission of guilt for those who believe in the theory that fleeing means an admission of guilt. Said yes, it was an admission of guilt. He then returned to the country months later, after vehemently defending himself on social media, terming the government's indictment as a witch hunt. He arrived in the country on the 25th of September 2024 at about 1 a.m. in the morning on board an Air Peace flight. He reached here at the court, or he arrived here at the court somewhere around 10 a.m. that very morning, accompanied by his army of lawyers. They marched their way into the court. He was wearing a khaki-like suit, entered the court, and then went into the office of the sheriff. He was handed court documents, papers, his indictment. His lawyers then filed his bond. The judge, the presiding judge, Judge Blamo C. Dixon, perused the bond, probated it, and accepted the bond. As of the time, there was no objection from the state. The state later, through the LDEA, said they found discrepancies within the bond that was filed, that the bond was wrong. One of the properties, has got a tax, was being used as a tax lien. The evaluation and ownership of the property wasn't right. It doesn't meet the 8 million, valuation as was done. Property 3333, according to the LDEA through the LRA, wasn't really found in their system, and there's been a lot of argument. But the Tweah defense team have said that, look, these properties that were used as the bond, that they're valid, the valuation are correct, and if any day the state wants to challenge our bond, then we can meet in court. And hence today we here and they in court, and we outside providing to you all of what is happening in there. Will he be recommitted? That is, will he be arrested? That is the question. For the others who were arrested prior to filing their bond, will they be rearrested and taken to the Monrovia Central Prison until a new bond can be filed? What will be the outcome? That is the question Liberians home and abroad are asking. Will the judge uphold the bond? Because the judge approved the bond. The judge went through the bond. The judge perused the bond. The judge said that the bond was adequate enough. The bond was good. The bond was valid. Will the judge, after evidence and arguments made by the state and the defense, rescind that decision and declare the bond invalid? And when the bond is declared invalid, what is the next step? Legal scholars have told us that once the bond is declared invalid, they will be arrested, handcuffed, and taken to the Monrovia Central Prison until a new bond can be filed on their behalf. As to what the process is going to be, that is the reason we are here to provide to you all of what is happening. And this case transcends way beyond the legal aspect that we're seeing here. There's been a lot of political spin to this case, that is a witch hunt, that is aimed at going at former CDC officials to weaken the CDC, that if these officials are prosecuted, these former officials are prosecuted. So I'm hearing noise from the court. What you just want me to say what happened? Okay, we see them coming out. Let's see what's happening. Let's see what's happening. So Minister Tweah, former Minister Tweah, is headed home from what we've been told, that it's been pushed to the 4th of November. That this bond challenge hearing has been pushed to the 4th of November. So from all indications, the judge has not made any determination, any ruling on the bond that was being challenged so far. So we want to speak to our colleagues who were inside of the court, but former Minister Tweah, from all of what we've gathered, is walking out again, and he's making his way to his SUV, and it's been postponed. It's been pushed to the 4th of November. So here he is exiting the court. So let's see if we can. Minister Tweah, a few words for the media, sir. Okay, he has declined speaking to the media, but the case has been pushed to the 4th of November. So there he is, the former finance minister, accompanied by Aloysius Hall and Wilmot Smith as well. So he's making his way to his SUV, the second time making his way to this SUV, the same SUV he used on the 25th, Wednesday, of September, and there he is. He's leaving the grounds of the court. The former Solicitor General, Tweah, is there, seen in pictures, blue suit as well. And we want to speak to our colleagues who were in the court. But from all indication that the case, the hearing, has been pushed to the 4th of November. So we're waiting on our colleagues from within the court to tell us exactly what unfolded a minute as we go and fishing for information as well.
All right, folks. So please don't go away. Keep sharing. We are trying to find more information to be able to update you people on everything that happened within. So Minister Tweah left the court and in exited home. So we trying to gather more information as to how the ruling went and on what ground Minister Tweah was released to go home today. So don't go away. Keep sharing as we fill in with more informations regarding this case here at the Criminal Court C. So we about to have a discussion on this. So they're going to be filling us in with more updates on what happened within. So Damon can take over now.
All right, thank you so much, Jurassic. So we are going to bring you the the reason why the Chokon is going to come as well. Chokon was in the courtroom. So we'll bring you the reason why the case has been pushed to the 4th of November. According to our sources from within the courtroom, this case was actually not on the docket to be heard in this term of court. So there is no way the judge could have listened to arguments in a case that is not on the docket for this term of court. From what we've gathered is this case, the LACC buying through the government of Liberia versus Samuel Tweah and others is on the docket for the next term of court. And so if anything is to happen, any proceeding, any hearing in this matter, it should fall within the next term of court. Am I right, Chokon?
Exactly, Damon. You were out here, but we were in the court, and the judge read that these are some of the legal deficiencies of on the side of the state, that they cannot try to court the case that was filed in September, particularly September 9. They cannot try in this term of court, but the next term, which will be November, particularly on November 12th, they are saying that the former minister should come in person. Want to see his living body, like they usually say here before the court, in the next term of court. That means all other matter will be suspended around the case until the case can resume in September, in November, which will be next month. Yeah, next month, before the case will resume.
So the challenge is the bond challenge hearing is going to be on the 4th of November.
Exactly.
So nothing now pertaining this case is going to happen until November.
Until November, yeah, the bond and all other issues surrounding this.
So the actual trial date is set for November 12th.
Exactly.
But the bond challenge hearing can be heard on November 4th.
Exactly.
All right. So there were no further arguments made whatsoever. The case was just called, and the judge made the decision that, look, this case is for the next term of court. So anything surrounding this case will have to wait for November. Was that what unfolded in there?
Right. The case was called, and the judge read the statement, pushing the case.
So how did they get an assignment on the docket today if all matters surrounding this case should be heard in November how did the prosecution get an assignment on the docket for today? And for the judge to come out and say, look, you know that every other matter surrounding this case is going to be heard in November. Why are you here today? Does that speak to a deficiency on the part of the prosecution?
Exactly, Diamond. That was one of the issues raised by several colleagues in the hall. That if there was any reason that the case was not on the docket for this term of court, how did it appear for hearing? And the judge statement said read that the statement that was read by the judge said it all about these are some of the legal lapses.
Did he actually use the words legal lapses?
No, he did not use the word, but other lawyers and some of our police who were walking out of the hall said these are some of the things that need to take care of before challenging the matter in the next term of court. Because mind you now,
does this speak to rash preparation from the prosecution, more of they really want to see these indictees convicted, not convicted but committed to pre-trial detention, rushing to do this and now being told by the judge, quote unquote, that this is a deficiency, this is a legal lapse on your part. Wait for the actual month that this case is to be heard, the term of court for this case to be heard, and all other matters surrounding this case can be heard. What does this speak to the preparation by the prosecution as well? Well-learned lawyers within the state.
Yes, Damon, like you said, the prosecutors they have to do more, because if you want to win the case, there are many cases before landmark cases before the court. The state might always be on the losing side of some of the cases due to some of the missteps along the way. So I think this is a good step for them to use this as a means of correcting some of the wrongs, how they file the case, how they will go through the hearing, to the processes if they want to win this case. Because it is not just about corruption, it's also political. So every step along the way has to be followed.
Okay, thank you so much, Chokon Flama. So, folks, there you have it. The bond challenge against the former finance minister Samuel Tweah and 4 other co-defendants have not been heard. The Judge Blamosi Dixon has said that all matters relating to this particular case involving the former finance minister and 4 other former officials of the Tweah-led government that were charged on various counts, including criminal conspiracy, criminal facilitation, money laundering, economic fraud, and theft of property. Every other thing surrounding this particular case will be heard the next term of court, which will be November next month. The bond challenge hearing is slated for the 4th of November 2024, and the actual trial date is set for the 12th of November 2024. Until then, Judge Blamosi Dixon has ruled that all matters surrounding this particular case cannot be heard until the next term of court. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Diamond Slanger on behalf of the Spoon Network. From Criminal Code C, it's a bye.
And this is Senior Counsel, Mother of the Judiciary, Counselor Per Brown Bull, Chair Advisor to the Liberia National Bar Association, Advisor to the Association of Female Lawyers, and founder and member of the board. So I'm here. I've been practicing law for 41 years.
Thank you, ma'am. So there you have it. Expertise just laid out in number of years as well. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.